Most of you aren't subscribed. Make sure to subscribe, as it helps out the channel. Without further ado, the anime opens with our MC Aizawa Azusa, a 27-year-old corporate slave working her life away without experiencing any romantic relationships. But suddenly one day Azusa collapsed due to overworking. Appearing before a goddess as a yellow orb, the goddess feels bad for Azusa, offering Azusa a carefree life with an immortal body. Reminding Azusa that mana will be used in her new world, the goddess sends Azusa off into the highlands, starting her off with a 17-year-old body. Having been dropped into a new world, Azusa is amazed she can read this world's language, spotting a home that is vacant and free to live in. Admiring her new body, Azusa says she looks like a witch, exploring the home only to spot a field and a village nearby. Having been given a weapon and some coins, Azusa heads out, only to run into a slime. Unsheathing her sword, Azusa slashes at the slime, but the creature simply evades, retaliating with an attack but does no damage to Azusa. Going all out, Azusa slays the slime, only to notice a gem drop from it. Heading to the nearby village, Azusa learns the village is named Flata, instructed to visit the nearby Adventurers Guild for work. Greeting the receptionist, Azusa learns that Flata village is quite peaceful, with only slimes roaming the area. The receptionist tells Azusa that the gems she acquired are magical stones and can be exchanged for money, but first the receptionist checks Azusa's stats. Azusa confirms that she has the witch class with a level of 1, but the receptionist points out how lucky it is to have immortality at such a low level. Just like that, Azusa's life consists of her taking it easy, starting each day by sleeping in only to tend to her fields. When she needs exercise, she slays slimes, aiming for 25 every day, and visits the forest occasionally to acquire the exact herbs she needs, thanks to her witch skill, only to sell them to the nearby village. After indulging in the laid-back life for 300 years, Azusa is seen tapping the slimes, curious as to how strong she's grown over time. Heading into town, Azusa is well known by everyone, having frequently treated patients with her medicine and even fighting off a plague that struck the town. Grateful to be given so much attention, Azusa exchanges her magical stones, only to be asked by the receptionist Natalie how strong she is. Having not checked in 300 years, Azusa chooses to evaluate her stats, shocking Natalie when she sees Azusa is level 99. Refusing to believe she's grown so strong by defeating mere slimes, Natalie points out Azusa has an ability that boosts her experience points earned, explaining how Azusa acquired over 10 million points over time. This is equivalent to 4,380 dragons slayed, meaning Azusa must be the strongest in the world. But Azusa states she doesn't want this attention ruining her peaceful life. Azusa asks Natalie to promise not to leak her status to anyone, heading to a nearby waterfall, only to freeze the entire location with a single ice spell. Forced to accept her insane growth, Azusa uses ice and fire magic to freeze and thaw meals, but one day suddenly gets a knock at the door. Spotting 4 adventurers outside, Azusa is petrified to hear them call her the level 99 witch, failing to come up with an excuse to convince them otherwise. With no other choice, Azusa takes the 4 all at once, drawing a circle and asking them to leave quietly once they lose. Seeing the enemy casting a wind spell, Azusa attempts to mimic the spell, but accidentally unleashes a devastating tornado that ends their duel. Rushing to the guild, Azusa asks if Natalie had leaked her true level, learning that Ernst the adventurer was the one who eavesdropped and leaked their earlier conversation. With word of Azusa's level spreading, Azusa is visited by the most powerful dragon of Nanterre, Laika, who challenges Azusa to a duel. When Azusa refuses, Laika threatens to rampage and destroy everything, forcing Azusa to accept. With Azusa donning her witch clothing, she takes flight to match Laika's wings, prompting Laika to unleash a fiery breath, only to be cancelled out by Azusa's ice magic. Impressed, Laika dashes forward clawing at Azusa, but upon seeing Laika trying to fire off another breath, Azusa simply freezes Laika's mouth. Falling out of the sky, Laika runs around mindlessly, accidentally destroying Azusa's house, forcing Azusa to knock Laika down with a single punch. Glaring at Laika, Azusa orders Laika to repair her house, something Laika agrees to do, asking for permission to retrieve funds from where they live. With Azusa warning Laika to not lie to her, Laika hurriedly flies off, leaving Azusa to head into town, seeing as her house is destroyed. As the town praises Azusa for fending off a dragon, Azusa chooses to stay at the Flata village office, thankful to be given the guest house. Azusa realizes the girl serving her was a young girl she saved in the past, choosing to accept the town's kindness and head to the Keen Eagle restaurant. Warmly greeted by the townsfolk, Azusa orders her usual omelet and beef stew, enjoying the delectable meal as the town celebrates Azusa the Great Witch of the Highlands. Waking up the next day, Azusa receives a visitor, asking who the redhead before her is, only to be stunned realizing Laika has changed into her human form. With Azusa confirming that Laika has indeed repaid her debt, Laika shyly asks to be Azusa's pupil, horrifying Azusa as she only got so strong fighting lowly slimes. Laika states she was naive to claim herself as the strongest, wishing to work diligently like Azusa and grow stronger. Azusa realizes that Laika could take over the cooking and cleaning, immediately taking Laika as her pupil, learning that Laika was born 300 years ago as well. Returning to her destroyed home, Azusa notes how they should expand to fit more people, prompting Laika to take over as she carries over some resources, immediately working on the overall foundation and structure of their new house. As it gets dark, Laika says she'll work all night and finish in the morning, but Azusa stops Laika, demanding Laika to not overexert herself. Touched by Azusa's words, Laika is grateful to her master, both clocking out for the day, only to return in the coming days to finish up. With Azusa amazed by Laika's hard work, they rush into town to celebrate, all whilst Azusa thinks about her new life with her first pupil. With Azusa taking Laika with her to slay slimes, Laika is amazed at Azusa's speed when dispatching slimes, but is disappointed to hear Azusa only takes down slimes to train. Azusa scolds Laika for wanting to fight stronger enemies in order to boast about it, reminding Laika to take things one step at a time. But as the two collect the magical stones, a mysterious girl glares at Azusa from the forest. As the two head home, Laika offers to cook Azusa a meal, shocking Azusa seeing the plus-size dishes. As the two dig in, Azusa says they'll rotate chores, asking Laika if she has any questions for her, intrigued to hear Laika fears for the nearby village. Laika says she fears an evil mage or other monsters attacking the village will be more likely, especially since Azusa's mighty status will draw in others across the world, making the village one of Azusa's weak points. Laika suggests that they create their own magic, both heading to a cliff only for Laika to draw up a magic circle for Azusa to use. Positioning herself in the middle of the magic circle, Azusa infuses the circle with her mana, casting a powerful barrier over the nearby village. In an instant, Azusa's spell catches a thief, shocking the townsfolk as they celebrate another heroic feat by Azusa. Azusa also takes the chance to introduce Laika the dragon to the villagers, all welcoming Laika wholeheartedly. As we cut to several days later, where Laika has perfectly picked up Azusa's carefree habits. Sadly, Azusa hears a knock at the door, spotting a small girl claiming Azusa to be her mother. Revealing her name to be Falfa, Falfa mentions that her younger sister had done her research into Azusa, but Laika is more fixated on Azusa's love life. Hearing Falfa mention her sister is hunting Azusa down, Laika invites Falfa in, serving her some cookies only to ask for the name of Falfa's sister. Revealed to be Shalsha, Falfa adds that Shalsha has a grudge against Azusa since Azusa has been slaying her kind. Azusa asks if Falfa is aware of what Shalsha may attack with. Surprised to hear Shalsha is learning Smite evil magic, magic that gets stronger the more specific the target. Laika says it takes decades to master such a spell, confirming that Falfa and Shalsha are both 50 years old, but suddenly Falfa states that Shalsha has appeared. Rushing outside, Azusa makes note of Shalsha's potent aura. Hearing Shalsha declare she'll avenge her own death. Azusa asks to know how she infuriated Shalsha. shocked to hear that Falfa and Shalsha are made from the souls of the slimes Azusa hunts, making the girls slime spirits. Seeing as Shalsha is dead set on fighting Azusa, Laika suggests Azusa blast the girl away with a tornado, but as Azusa casts her wind magic, Shalsha easily disperses the spell. With everyone shocked, Shalsha reveals her smite evil target is specifically the Witch of the Highlands, making Shalsha the perfect counter to Azusa. Getting serious, Azusa combines a red and blue flame, blasting Shalsha with a newly created black flame, but Azusa's magic bounces off Shalsha's body. Falfa mentions how Shalsha has been saving up her mana to ensure she takes out Azusa, but her magic will run out in an hour. But seeing as Shalsha is only after her, Azusa chooses to flee for her life. Sadly, Shalsha negates Azusa's flight magic, preparing a lethal spell all whilst the others watch. With Azusa accepting her demise, Laika transforms, intercepting Shalsha's attack, declaring that no one will touch her master. As both Shalsha and Laika prepare to battle, Laika rushes Shalsha with her claws, surprised to see Shalsha suddenly faint when Laika nudges her. Having brought Shalsha back to her home, Shalsha awakens, disappointed having to rely on her enemy's kindness. Leaping out of bed, Shalsha prepares to strike Azusa down, but realizes she has run out of mana, cursing herself for being so weak. Azusa points out that at least Shalsha will have a reason to live now that Azusa is still alive, confusing Shalsha as to why Azusa would help them. But Falfa finally speaks up. Falfa asks Shalsha to not be so harsh on Azusa, especially since it's human nature to slay slimes, asking Shalsha instead to leave behind her resentment and live her life. Seeing Shalsh finally give up on her revenge schemes, Azusa asks if the girls would like to live with them, ordering Shalsha to first call her mother as well. Wanting to celebrate their new family members, the gang head out to purchase items, learning along the way that evil slimes exist in the world. The sisters utter that the slimes of Nanterre are dark-colored, whereas the slimes in the Highland are pale, mentioning how evil slimes are light in color. The girls also add that all slimes have a weak point, stabbing at a slime hole only to instantly slay it. Finally heading through town, Azusa runs some errands while showing the sisters around, stopping only to quiz the girls on some landmarks. Seeing Falfa easily remembering the landmarks, Laika asks how Shalsha is doing, hearing Shalsha point out the old road that led to the Old Kingdom. Heading home, the gang feast on Laika's plus-sized meals, all praising Laika for the delicious meal. Seeing the sisters abstain from eating their celery, Azusa offers to give them cake later, convincing them otherwise. Glancing at Laika, Azusa calls out Laika for skipping over her celery as well, all ending the night with some chiffon cake. With the sisters given a room to share, Laika suggests that they recruit an elf or demon next, but first Azusa chooses to value their family of four as is. With several nights passing, Azusa watches as the sisters indulge in history books, shocked to see the girls studying elven history. Hearing a knock at the door, Azusa is jealous to see a voluptuous shy elf at the door, hearing that the elf is currently on the run. When the elf asks Azusa to save her from the high demon Beelzebub, Azusa rushes to shut her door, but the elf stops her showering Azusa with praise. Inviting the elf inside, the elf introduces herself as Halkara, an elf from the nation of Hrant, and is also an apothecary, someone who deals with medicine. Azusa wonders what Beelzebub wants with her, learning that Halkara is a renowned apothecary, having invented the Nutri Spirit Energy drink using various mushrooms, even making decent profit with the product. Apparently, one day, Beelzebub herself tried out the energy drink, but fell ill as the energy drink was rumored to be poisonous to demons, and has ever since chosen to hunt down and pay back Halkara for making the concoction. With Halkara begging for Azusa's help, Azusa agrees, giving Halkara the new title of Azusa's second pupil. But first they need to find more fitting clothes for Halkara. Getting to work, Azusa places a protective barrier over their home, serving Halkara a standard meal that brings her to tears. Halkara reveals she had to survive on tree nuts while she was fleeing, grateful to be fed a hearty meal, only to head out to gather herbs with Azusa. Getting to work, Halkara chooses to only pick mushrooms, mentioning how she specializes in mushroom picking, pointing out how to remove the poison from said mushrooms. Heading to a nearby river, the girls grill some of the mushrooms, prompting Halkara to serve them with some fermented soybean sauce, something Azusa notes smells like soy sauce. As the girls indulge in the mushrooms, Azusa mentions how they should bring the others next time, suddenly spotting Halkara acting all giddy. Weirded out, Azusa realizes Halkara ate some poisonous mushrooms, having accidentally mixed one of the herbal mushrooms for an edible one. Sadly, Halkara reveals the side effect of the poisonous mushroom to be stimulation of the body and mind, making her laugh uncontrollably whilst also feeling lewd. Immediately leaping back, Azusa watches as Halkara begs to play, but Azusa instead blasts Halkara with a spell. That night, Halkara serves the others her mushroom dishes, apologizing for her lewdness earlier, but luckily Azusa had blasted Halkara with a neutralizing spell before things got spicy. With everyone appreciating Halkara's mushroom dishes, Azusa takes Halkara to slay some slimes with her, jealous at Halkara's peculiar techniques. Even walking through town, Halkara draws the attention of men, but Azusa finds it weird that the girls are glaring at Halkara, both heading to check out some quests at the guild. Natalie informs the girls that a generous-looking quest was added recently, having been created by Beelzebub herself, and asks for a voluptuous apothecary elf in exchange for 15 million gold. That night, Azusa deduces that Beelzebub putting up the quest must mean she is aware of Halkara's location, asking Laika to evacuate the sisters elsewhere. With Laika and the sisters immediately heading off, Azusa hopes her barrier will buy them some more time, watching as Halkara downs an energy drink to stay active. Azusa scolds Halkara for drinking so many energy drinks and eating dinner without her, but Halkara swears that she did no such thing, both suddenly turning their attention to a strange-looking fly. Azusa remembers Beelzebub is Lord of the Flies, suddenly hearing a demonic voice call out to them, only to watch as the fly transforms into Beelzebub herself. With Halkara immediately bowing her head to submit, Azusa states she knows Beelzebub had lived alongside everyone the same time Halkara moved in, having needed to confirm that Halkara was the apothecary she was looking for. Grabbing onto Halkara, Beelzebub demands Halkara do what she says, but Azusa interjects stating that they should have a duel to settle this dispute. Laughing gleefully, they both agree to head outside, but as Beelzebub spreads her wings, she accidentally flies too high, ultimately getting zapped by Azusa's barrier. Hearing Beelzebub refuse to give up, Azusa suggests that they reschedule their duel, but out of nowhere, Beelzebub begins to quiver, suddenly falling unconscious. Placing her in one of the beds, Azusa prepares a healing spell, wondering if healing magic would work on a demon, but is relieved to see Beelzebub's pain go away. Waking up, Beelzebub thanks Azusa for saving her, asking to have more of Halkara's energy drink when she is better, confusing Azusa. Beelzebub reveals that Halkara's energy drink helped her pull an all-nighter, and it was ultimately her stress that caused her fever, not the drink itself. Additionally, the Nutri-Spirit energy drink is loved by the devil and all demons alike, relieving Halkara, but this news annoys Azusa. The next morning, Halkara explains everything to the others, revealing that she will continue production of her drink in their current province. Hearing that Halkara wants to remain as Azusa's pupil, Azusa has no problem suddenly hearing Beelzebub asking for a rematch when the time comes. Beelzebub says she'll teach Azusa how to summon her, but first teaches the sisters some history on demon society, only to become flustered hearing the sisters asking about Beelzebub's love life. Seeing her family grow, Azusa can't help but feel at home, only to receive some bad news from Laika the next day. Flashing back, we see a younger Laika spending time with a redhead, waking up before she can remember anything else. Following Azusa, she's sad to report she had no love life, disappointing Halkara as she personally deems herself a youthful teen, being only 200 years old. As for Falfa and Shalsha, they both admit that they love Azusa, all sitting down for the breakfast Laika prepared for them. Before they dig in, Laika announces that she'll be returning to her hometown, worrying everyone as they ask to know why. Before Azusa can jump to conclusions, Laika states that she'll be attending her older sister's wedding, inviting everyone to come along. Gladly accepting, they all set off towards Mount Rocco, Laika's hometown. Seeing Halkara being air-sick, they make a pit stop near a river, only to continue their journey only to stop near a volcano. Having arrived at the first venue, the gang are amazed to see a gathering of red dragons. But suddenly, some acquaintances greet Laika, girls that Laika used to go to an all-girls school with. Heading to meet Laika's parents, Halkara accidentally gets mistaken for food, fighting for her life to survive. Reuniting with their daughter, Laika's parents thank Azusa for taking her in, introducing everyone to Layla, Laika's older sister. Halkara takes the chance to ask how Layla fell in love. Happy to hear it took 80 years for Layla to fall in love with her childhood best friend. With Azusa hoping that everything goes well for Layla, a sudden swarm of blue dragons appear, all blasting the surrounding area with their ice breaths. Laika reveals that blue dragons are from the Haint province and have come to crash the wedding, spotting Flatort, renowned as the bully queen of the blue dragons. Flatort voices how jealous she is not to be married even after 400 years, stating that she'll freeze over the nearby volcano. But this forces Laika's father to call for an all-out war. Seeing as it's too dangerous, Azusa suggests that they all flee, spotting Halkara playing dead, but snaps out of it when a dragon approaches. Running through the battlefield, Azusa carves a path for the gang to flee, all whilst Laika and Flatort exchange some insults. Having heard enough, the two begin brawling, all whilst Azusa and the others watch from a safe vantage point. Knowing that she shouldn't intervene in other families' affairs, Azusa chooses to lay low, but upon seeing a blue dragon attempt to freeze them, Azusa switches gears. With a single kick, Azusa sends the stray dragon flying, asking Halkara to take the sisters elsewhere, while she personally assists the red dragons. Following Laika, she and her father seem to be cornered, only to spot a hail of fireballs drawing the surrounding blue dragons elsewhere. Revealed to be Azusa, Azusa makes quick work of a dragon, watching as the surrounding dragons simultaneously unleash their ice breaths. Erecting a fire barrier to defend, Azusa speeds towards the attacking dragons, instantly pummeling them all to the ground. Spotting Flatort nearby, Azusa dashes in for a lethal kick, surprised to see Flatort tank the blow. Seeing Flatort firing off an ice breath, Azusa simply counters with a fireball, followed up with an axe kick that sends Flatort plummeting out of the sky. With the remaining blue dragons fleeing, the red dragons celebrate a successful victory, but Laika remembers that Flatort has still sent a separate force to freeze their nearby volcano. Heading to the nearby hot spring town, Laika is worried the tourists may indirectly get hurt by the dragon's dispute, reassured by Azusa that everything will run smoothly for her sister's wedding. Hearing commotion nearby, our duo rush up some stairs, spotting a flock of blue dragons bound to the ground by some dark magic. Realizing it to be the work of Beelzebub, Beelzebub mentions how she frequents the hot springs in town, annoyed when she stumbled onto some blue dragons threatening to run amok in town. Laika is amazed that Beelzebub bound 5 blue dragons with a single spell, learning that Beelzebub has lived for 3,000 years, reminding Beelzebub of her rematch with Azusa. Azusa takes the chance to thank Beelzebub, flustering her as she's showered with praise, only for the gang to return to the others. With Beelzebub helping to bind the other blue dragons, allowing Laika to order Flatort to return to her human form, handing Flatort a bill to cover all the damages and medical bills for the injured. Seeing Flatort refuse at first, Laika states Flatort will remain bound until she accepts, ultimately forcing Flatort to agree. Additionally, Azusa takes the chance to ask Flatort to sign a treaty for the blue and red dragons to get along, forcing Flatort into submission when Azusa gives off a menacing glare. With Beelzebub personally standing witness to the agreement of the treaty, Flatort feels defeated, exciting Azusa as she graciously thanks Beelzebub with another hug. Moving on to the second party, Azusa notices all the red dragons take their human form, but gets worried seeing Halkara stumbling around with booze in her hands. With Beelzebub joining the conversation, they all watch as Layla and her groom appear, all dazzled by Layla's beauty. Layla is glad to see Laika make so many friends, happy to hear Laika wish her the best, but is more surprised seeing Flatort giving her blessings as well. That night, Azusa and Laika catch some fresh air, leading Laika to request something from Azusa. As Laika rests on Azusa's thighs, she mentions how Layla would also comfort her when her parents scolded her, grateful that Azusa will now take care of Laika in Layla's place moving forward. With both girls returning to the party, they're disappointed seeing Halkara completely sloshed, forcing Beelzebub to hoist her away. Seeing Azusa has returned, Beelzebub suggests they all indulge in the hot spring, cutting to later that night where the girls all decompress. Azusa points out how Beelzebub is like an older sister. Flafa and Shalsha are her daughters. Laika is her younger sister, and Halkara is the troublesome junior.